The U.S. has dropped tens of thousands of precision, guided bombs and waged 5 months of non-stop aerial saturation strikes. It has completely wiped out Iran's entire conventional navy. Yet the United States still cannot eliminate Iran's real combat-killing blow. How is the world's most powerful air force incapable of fully securing a narrow ocean strait? Why do constant U.S. military victories and endless airstrikes fail to erase Iran's threat to global shipping in the Strait of Hormuz? Today, we break through fragmented mainstream media narratives and expose the most misunderstood truth of the 2026 U.S.-Iran standoff. For 2 decades, Iran quietly built a massive asymmetric underground coastal defense network carved into mountains, and it single-handedly neutralized modern American air warfare doctrine. Operating entirely independently of Iran's regular navy, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy understood early on that it could never compete with Western supercarriers and large warships in conventional combat. Instead of wasting resources on matching us fleet power, Iran adopted a pure asymmetric strategy. It spent 20 years carving at least 10 heavily reinforced tunnel and bunker complexes into the rocky cliff faces and strategic islands along Iran's southern coastline. These are not simple makeshift shelters. Each mountain complex houses private internal docks, dedicated berthing zones, and rapid response dispatch systems. The island of Four serves as the primary operational hub for Iran's naval special forces, responsible for fast boat staging, rapid deployment, and quick retaliatory strikes. The entire combat cycle, launching from hidden tunnels, striking shipping lanes, and returning to resupply, takes only minutes, perfectly tailored for lightning, fast guerrilla naval tactics. Carved deep into solid granite, these bunkers are completely invisible to satellite surveillance, high-altitude reconnaissance, and radar detection. Low-profile speedboats docked inside leave no electronic or visual signature whatsoever. Iran has assembled a so-called mosquito fleet of nearly 1,000 fast attack craft. Each boat costs only a few tens of thousands of US dollars, but carries anti-ship missiles, lightweight torpedoes, and explosive suicide payloads, delivering unmatched cost, effective firepower. Exploiting the Hormuz Strait's narrowest point of merely 33 kilometers, Iran deploys dozens of speedboats from multiple concealed exit points simultaneously. Using serpentine swarm formations, they overwhelm us Aegis air defense systems through sheer numerical saturation, creating a classic poor versus rich asymmetric warfare advantage. Years before the 2026 conflict erupted, Iran regularly conducted live drills in the strait. Multiple incidents recorded Iranian boat swarms approaching us destroyers, with American radar detecting the threat yet failing to intercept in time. Beyond fast boats, Iran has fully integrated shore-based missile batteries, coastal mini-submarines, and maritime suicide drones into a complete layered coastal denial network. Here is a critical hypothetical war scenario. Even if Iran loses every single large surface warship in its inventory, as long as these mountain bunkers and speedboat fleets survive, Tehran retains permanent capability to block the world's most vital energy shipping lane. That is the long-game strategic purpose behind Iran's 20-year underground military buildup. On the 28th of February 2026, a massive Joint US-Israeli opening airstrike completely dismantled Iran's traditional naval power structure, revealing the true duality of Iran's coastal defense system. The opening offensive targeted Iran's most vulnerable conventional military assets, focusing heavy fire on open airports, including Chabahar and Bushehr, shore-based missile emplacements, and frigate and destroyer berths, fully exposed to satellite monitoring. Post-strike assessments confirmed that over 70% of Iran's large conventional surface warships were destroyed. Open speedboat staging grounds along the Caspian Sea coastline also suffered severe losses. Independent Israeli airstrikes heavily damaged the Bushehr port complex, sinking multiple minesweepers, missile craft, and aging corvettes. Following this devastating opening blow, Iran's decades-old long-range conventional naval capability was functionally eliminated. At the time, nearly all mainstream Western analysts predicted Iran would lose all ability to control or threaten the Hormuz Strait. However, declassified intelligence reports later proved the complete opposite. A April 2026 exclusive intelligence evaluation published by the Wall Street Journal confirmed that more than 60% of Iran's fast attack boats remained intact, hidden deep within mountain tunnel bunkers, completely untouched by the initial U.S.-Israeli bombardment. U.S. Central Command statistics recorded over 155 destroyed or damaged Iranian naval assets by early April. Yet almost every verified loss corresponded to large, exposed, easily detectable surface warships. Damages inflicted on concealed mountain-based speedboat units were negligible. By mid-April, the U.S. military could only confirm sinking roughly half of Iran's fast boat fleet. The core limitation was clear: buried deep within granite tunnels, small swift boats cannot be accurately counted or targeted via satellite reconnaissance. Airstrikes can only damage exterior tunnel entrances, failing to reach core interior assets. Latest July 2026 satellite imagery further confirms Iran's extreme survivability through redundant engineering design. Nearly all lightly damaged tunnel entrances were rapidly repaired and fully operational within weeks. With interconnected multi-entry tunnel layouts, a single blocked or destroyed entrance has zero impact on overall operational capacity. Boats can simply redeploy through alternate hidden passages at any time. This explains why, after 5 months of relentless high-intensity airstrikes, Iran's asymmetric coastal strike capability remains fully operational. The total annihilation of Iran's conventional navy never touched Tehran's real strategic deterrence foundation. July 2026 marked a major escalation in U.S. Iran hostilities, with American airstrikes intensely focusing on bunker cluster regions across Qeshm Island, Bandar Abbas, Sirik, and Hajiabad. This round of strikes has become one of the most widely misrepresented events in the entire conflict. From early to mid-July, the U.S. military launched 7 consecutive nights of uninterrupted bombardment. On the 15th of July, U.S. forces executed a concentrated 90-minute saturation assault, combining stealth fighter jets, long-range cruise missiles, and maritime suicide drones. Targets included coastal air defense, radar arrays, cruise missile storage depots, coastal surveillance installations, logistical transportation hubs, and surrounding military barracks, to strategically isolate Iran's mountain bunker networks. U.S. strikes destroyed critical highway and railway bridges connecting tunnel complexes to rear supply lines, cutting off material resupply, troop rotation, and equipment deployment routes. Iran's semi-official Fars news agency documented 10 successive explosions across the Sirik combat zone. CNN and the Jerusalem Post independently verified severe damage to multiple military facilities in Bandar Abbas and Qeshm Island. Notably, this offensive marked the first deployment of America's new Pirate maritime suicide drone system, which successfully raided Bandar Abbas's submarine maintenance dry dock and crippled Iran's primary southwest naval repair pipeline. Despite these confirmed surface-level victories, there is a critical, widely misinterpreted reality that must be clarified. To this day, no U.S. Central Command official briefing, no mainstream media field report, and no commercial satellite imagery has provided verifiable proof that U.S. bunker buster munitions penetrated the core tunnel chambers, collapsed mountain bunker structures, or destroyed hidden speedboat fleets inside. Viral social media claims declaring that America completely destroyed Iran's underground tunnel network remain entirely unsubstantiated speculation. Multiple U.S. intelligence officers privately admitted that current airstrikes only disable exterior air defense coverage, supply chains, and early warning systems. The true condition of deep mountain core fortifications remains undetermined and unconfirmed. Senior defense analysts have drawn a definitive tactical distinction. Striking peripheral support infrastructure degrades sustained operational capacity. But penetrating primary tunnel chambers and destroying interior equipment is the only method to neutralize Iran's fast boat threat completely. Without official military confirmation or visual satellite evidence, claims of total bunker destruction are entirely unreliable. A simple logical hypothesis further debunks viral narratives. If U.S. strikes had truly collapsed core tunnel systems, Iran would display catastrophic equipment losses, mass casualties, and operational breakdowns, and U.S. CENTCOM would immediately announce a landmark military victory. The complete absence of such evidence conclusively disproves online misinformation. Within modern aerial warfare doctrine, Iran's granite, embedded underground hardened bunkers are universally recognized as the most difficult targets to neutralize. Iran's coastal speedboat tunnels and inland underground missile cities extend anywhere from dozens to over 500 meters into solid mountain bedrock. Dense natural granite provides superior protective shielding compared to conventional reinforced concrete military fortifications. America's most powerful bunker, busting weapon, the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, theoretically pierces 40 meters of solid rock. Yet in real combat conditions, against 6 Phasevin Mohs scale high-density granite, actual penetration depth drops to merely 20 Fe 30 meters, insufficient to reach deep core operational chambers. Compounding America's tactical limitations, each GBU-57 costs well over $1 million, and U.S. stockpiles are far too limited to sustain large-scale repeated buster campaigns across Iran's dispersed 10-plus mountain complexes. Economically, the strike strategy is extremely inefficient. Beyond natural geological protection, Iran's military engineering incorporates sophisticated redundant defensive design. Multi-entry interconnected tunnel systems and layered compartment layouts ensure localized explosions or structural collapses never spread to the broader bunker network, preserving full operational functionality. Internal automated rail transit systems enable rapid relocation of speedboats, missiles, and ammunition, eliminating concentrated stockpile vulnerability and preventing chain reaction detonations. Strategically, Iran's bunker assets are widely dispersed across hundreds of kilometers of southern coastline, separated by dozens of kilometers. These decentralized fortifications cannot be neutralized in a single offensive operation. The U.S. is forced to conduct repeated draining sorties, burning massive munition stockpiles and air mission hours, dragging a potential blitzkrieg into a prolonged war of attrition. Despite its formidable design, Iran's underground defense network possesses one critical vulnerability. Certain ammunition storage tunnels lack segmented blast isolation doors, leaving missiles, naval mines, and boat ordnance openly stacked in continuous corridor layouts. A precision buster penetration into these storage zones would trigger catastrophic cascading secondary detonations, destroying vast underground sections in a single strike. It is important to specify that this structural flaw is currently only documented in inland missile city facilities. No public intelligence confirms speedboat bunkers share the same design weakness, and Tehran may have implemented upgraded protection systems for coastal assets. Even with this known vulnerability, standard U.S. conventional weaponry remains incapable of fully eradicating Iran's mountain bunker infrastructure, the core technical reason this conflict remains locked in stalemate. Most casual observers fixate solely on Iran's hidden speedboat fleets while overlooking the country's fully integrated four-layer asymmetric coastal denial network, the true backbone of Iran's enduring ability to counter U.S. naval supremacy. Beyond coastal boat tunnels, Iran has constructed no fewer than 27 massive underground missile cities, spanning Hormozgan, Shiraz, Isfahan, and other key provinces. Some subterranean tunnel networks stretch dozens of kilometers, forming enormous underground military arsenals capable of housing thousands of ballistic missiles and anti-ship cruise missiles. Equipped with fully automated rapid reload systems, these underground launch complexes deliver continuous volley fire without requiring external resupply or positional reset. Functioning like endless military magazines, they eliminate the traditional vulnerability of one and done missile launchers, sustaining indefinite long-range deterrence. In underwater denial warfare, Iran retains over 80% of its pre-conflict mine-laying capacity. Ghadir-class midget submarines and high-speed attack boats covertly deploy magnetic bottom mines capable of lying dormant in shipping lanes for months at a time. Naval mining creates persistent, unattributable strategic blockade effects. Even after us mine, clearing operations temporarily open sections of the strait. Iran rapidly remines choke points to re-establish full blockade status. Slow mine, countermeasure vessels, and helicopters are extremely vulnerable to Iranian speedboat swarm ambushes, making demining operations slow, costly, and tactically dangerous. Iran's underwater combat force layers vintage Kilo-class diesel submarines alongside domestically built Fateh-class semi-heavy submarines. Faith vessels can operate at 200-meter depths for up to 35 consecutive days, armed with torpedoes and submerged launch cruise missiles, establishing invisible underwater ambush zones throughout the strait's narrow, shallow waters. Even after the July U.S. drone strike damaged Bandar Abbas's submarine maintenance facilities, Iran's remaining submersible assets continue operating stealthily within complex coastal terrain. The entire defensive ecosystem shares interconnected mountain tunnels, hidden coastal piers, underground storage depots, and unified logistical pipelines. Speedboats handle short-range surface harassment. Submarines deliver covert underwater strikes. Missile cities provide long-range precision fire, and naval mines enforce permanent lane blockade. This four-tier mutually complementary defense loop cannot be dismantled through isolated airstrikes targeting single asset types. This integrated layered system is the unshakable source of Iran's persistent Hormuz Strait deterrence. To crush Iranian resistance, the United States implemented a dual-axis pressure campaign starting April 2026, relentless aerial bombardment to degrade military hardware, paired with total maritime oil blockade to collapse Iran's national economy. On the 13th of April, U.S. forces officially enforced a full naval embargo covering all Iranian ports and coastal waters, regardless of vessel nationality or flag, completely severing Iran's primary oil export route. Before the conflict, Iran exported nearly 2 million barrels of crude oil daily, constituting its primary foreign exchange and fiscal revenue source. Following the blockade, oil exports plummeted 80 to 90%, delivering an immediate and devastating economic blow. U.S. Pentagon early May assessments calculated a $4.8 billion oil revenue loss for Iran in the blockade's first month alone. Combined with global oil price volatility, intensified sanctions, and runaway inflation, Iran's daily economic losses stabilized between $200 million and $500 million throughout mid-2026, accumulating well over $10 billion in total losses by July. Oil exports previously funded 80% of Iran's foreign reserves and 65% of its government budget. The export collapse triggered foreign reserve depletion, national inflation soaring to 77%, critical civilian goods shortages, and widespread industrial shutdowns, pushing Iran's economy and livelihood systems to the brink. During the blockade campaign, U.S. naval forces intercepted 85 blockade, running vessels, and outright seized 3 oil tankers, establishing a multi-layer interdiction perimeter via fighter patrols, destroyer pickets, and maritime drone surveillance. Nevertheless, verified shipping tracking data from Lloyd's List confirms the blockade contains significant loopholes. At least 26 oil tankers successfully evaded U.S. enforcement through night-silent transits, open sea ship to ship cargo transfers, and third country port rerouting. Iran further sustains limited import-export activity and oil revenue through land border smuggling and regional intermediary trade, preventing the U.S. embargo from achieving full strategic closure. The dual pressure campaign operates with clear division of labor. Airstrikes physically degrade military fighting capacity, while maritime blockade gradually erodes Iran's economic foundation. Despite coordinated US pressure, Iran's years of sanctions, resilient infrastructure, and hidden underground military assets have enabled it to preserve Hormuz Strait threat capabilities. Isolated airstrikes and economic restrictions cannot fully dismantle Iran's asymmetric warfare architecture. We can reasonably conclude that if the U.S. maintains this attrition model long-term, Iran's concealed maritime power will persist indefinitely, permanently solidifying the standoff equilibrium. One of the most paradigm-shifting lessons of this war is the complete invalidation of traditional naval warfare logic that equates large warships with decisive sea power. In the conflict's opening phase, U.S. Israeli air power destroyed the vast majority of Iran's frigates, destroyers, and large missile combatants. Nearly all mainstream analysts concluded at the time that Iran had lost all capacity to control the Hormuz Strait. 5 months of real combat operations have proven this assessment entirely wrong. Expensive, high-profile satellite, visible conventional warships were never Iran's core strategic deterrent. Jamestown Foundation Defense Analysis confirms that Iran's conventional surface fleet possesses virtually zero practical value in asymmetric strait combat, serving only ceremonial and symbolic military posturing purposes. Iran's real, persistent, neutralizing threat stems entirely from low-cost, stealthy, mass-producible hard to eliminate small speedboats, naval mines, and mini-submarines. The Hormuz Strait's narrow, shallow geography neutralizes every advantage of US super naval power. American aircraft carriers and guided missile destroyers suffer extreme maneuver limitations in constrained chokepoint waters, unable to execute high-speed turns or tactical repositioning. The cost imbalance is strategically crippling for the U.S. military. $1 million air defense interceptors are forced to engage mere tens of thousands dollar speedboat targets, creating unsustainable economic attrition on U.S. munition stockpiles and defense budgets. Iran's dispersed mountain bunker network deploys swarms of dozens of speedboats on multi-axis, attack vectors simultaneously overwhelming Western radar tracking capabilities and compressing intercept warning windows to mere seconds. Unlike capital warships that suffer permanent, irreplaceable destruction when sunk, Iran's simple speedboat designs enable rapid mass production and instantaneous fleet replacement after losses. Combined with persistent underwater mining and submarine ambush capabilities, Iran creates an endless, self-regenerating composite threat system. This is the definitive reason 5 months of intense U.S. airstrikes have failed to neutralize Hormuz Strait shipping risks. Every high-value warship destroyed by American air power was never part of Iran's actual operational deterrent core. As long as mountain-hosted speedboat and subsea defense systems survive, Iran retains permanent strategic balancing power against the U.S. Navy. After 5 months of military escalation and diplomatic maneuvering, the U.S.-Iran conflict has solidified into a long-term attritional stalemate with zero possibility of immediate decisive victory for either side. The U.S. faces an unsolvable tactical dilemma: dispersed, deeply buried Iranian underground fortifications resist complete neutralization via conventional airstrikes. Total eradication of Iran's tunnel bunker network would require large-scale amphibious ground invasion operations. Multiple internal U.S. military wargames confirm ground intervention would trigger massive troop casualties, international backlash, and severe domestic political pressure, making a land campaign politically and militarily unfeasible for Washington. The U.S. is therefore trapped in a cycle of repetitive airstrikes, slowly degrading peripheral infrastructure while failing to reach core defensive assets. Even after months of bombardment, Iran rapidly repairs damaged tunnel entrances, relocates hidden weapon systems, and reorganizes combat formations to sustain continuous defensive operational capability. Modern military history consistently demonstrates that decentralized, hardened, underground defensive networks never collapse from single decisive strikes. They always devolve into prolonged wars of attrition. Parallel to military confrontation, diplomatic mediation channels remain active, creating a unique fighting while negotiating stalemate pattern. As the primary regional mediator, Qatar maintains indirect communication channels between Washington and Tehran. In July, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas conducted informal diplomatic outreach during official visits in Doha. While the passing of Qatar's former emir slightly weakened mediation influence, the Doha back-channel remains operational. The interim memorandum of understanding temporarily suspended in June still holds potential for diplomatic revival. The current strategic balance is clear. U.S. airstrikes and naval blockades continuously squeeze Iran's military and economic space, while Iran's mature underground defense architecture preserves irreplaceable strategic leverage. Neither side possesses the capacity for total military victory. This conflict will almost certainly conclude through gradual attrition, mutual strategic fatigue, and multilateral diplomatic compromise, rather than dramatic battlefield triumph. If you want to cut through mainstream media hype and understand the real unfiltered dynamics of modern asymmetric warfare, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notification alerts for future, in-depth military breakdowns. Let me know in the comments, do you think this U.S.-Iran stalemate will eventually reach a lasting ceasefire or devolve into permanent low-intensity grinding conflict? I will continue covering hidden weapon vulnerabilities, tactical evolutions, and diplomatic developments reshaping the 2026 Hormuz Strait crisis.